Good afternoon, everyone. I am Wang Yongyi, a member of Group 1. First, I would like to introduce my team members, Zhou Dandan, Xu Xiaoyu, Cheng Wang Kaixuan. Today, our Group 1 will report the relevant contents of CRISI experimental research. Part A is an introduction to the definition and question and feature of CRISI experimental, the purpose and advantage of each sub-design procedures, validity and reliability, issues in research design of CRISI experimental. Thus, CRISI experimental research is research that resembles experimental research but is not true. Experimental research aims to establish a cause and effect relationship between an independent and dependent variable. We all know that CRISI experiment refers to the experiment in which the subjects are not selected and allocated according to the random principle. Only the existing research objects are taken as subjects, and only the irrelevant variables are controlled as much as possible. Its key feature is that it does not rely on random distribution. Here are a few examples. This one and this one example. In CRISI experimental research, there are many sub-design research methods, such as unequal design, regression discontinuity, natural experiment, and so on. For example, Oregon Health Research is one of the most famous nature experiment. Okay, next, my team member Zhou Dandan will introduce CRISI experimental advantages and disadvantages.
In the performance of CRISI experimental effectiveness, we can test our research results through internal validity, external validity, and construct validity. Among them, the internal validity of CRISI experiments is higher than that of other non-experimental studies. Statements about validity need to be supported by reliability. We need to implement reliability measures through stable or repetitive measurement data. The above design method will be directly related to the effectiveness and reliability of the whole experimental research, and it is oriental. First, internal validity addresses the true causes of the outcomes that observed in a study. Strong internal validity means that not only have reliable measures of the independent and dependent variables, but a strong justification that causally link the independent variables to the dependent variables. At the same time, able to rule out extraneous variables or alternatives, often unanticipated or even spurious causally fake causes for the dependent variables. Thus, strong internal validity refers to the unambiguous assignment of causes to effect. Internal validity is about causal control. The other one is the external validity. External validity addresses the ability to generalize our study to other people and to other situations. The next one is the construct validity, and the construct validity accurately reflects the abstract concepts that are trying to study. Since only know about the concepts through the concrete measures that's in use, can see that construct validity is extremely important. Experimental reliability refers to whether the results of repeated experiments are consistent, so as to judge the reliability. If the results are inconsistent many times, then the reliability is very low and the conclusion is not credible. We generally make a comprehensive analysis through the size of observation, the reliability of research tools, random factors, and so on. Therefore, the stability and consistency of research results is an important condition to ensure the scientificity of research. In general, experimental reliability is the repeatability of the experiment. The following is our literature report, first reported by Cheng Wang Kaixuan.
So hello, doctor, and all my friends. Today, I and Xu Xiaoyu will do the Part B presentation, and we focus on a journal. So the journal's title is Effects of Early Essential Newborn Care versus Routine Birth Care on Psychological Variables and Sleep State among Newborn Infants. Quest experimental design. The authors are Huang Chuanya, Hu Lei, He Jingjing, and Luo Biru. The journal is from BMC Predictories, and the article is published on the 11 March 2022. And the DOI number is that. So the first part, we should focus on the research purpose. So because China introduced early essential care of newborns, it's called EENC, into medical practice, but the number of medical institutions implementing EENC is still small due to insufficient clinical evidence and insufficient awareness among health professionals. Therefore, the purpose of this journal study was to investigate the effects of EENC on neonatal psychological variables and sleep status, and to provide evidence to support the implementation of EENC. So we should focus on the variables involved in this study. Because midwives in the intervention group were trained in EENC related skills. The use of EENC skills in the control group relative to routine birth care was an independent variable in this study, while the experiment outcome in both groups was a dependent variable. On the other hand, because the experimenter used a non-random sampling method in the grouping and controlled over irrelevant variables, such as age, education, or exact. The difference between the two groups was not large, so it did not affect the results after the article. Therefore, the influence of the variables on experiment is not considered. Here is the table for the baseline characteristics of participants. So we mentioned about in the last slide, because of the non-random sampling method in the grouping and controlled over other irrelevant. So this table states the variables in the table not affect the results after the article. Also, the table 2 not influence the outcome of the article. So, Xu Xiaoyu, I think it's your turn next.
Okay, thanks for your great introduction, Chen. Now it's my turn. Let me to continue to introduce our group's presentation to you guys. In this selection of Part B, I will give you an overview of the population, simple technique used in the study of this article we have chosen to apply called the experimental research design. In this article, all pregnant women eligible for this study and willing to provide informed consent were recruited from the labor ward before birth, and their babies were recruited into the study after birth, with participants being randomly allocated to two groups. The selection criteria for the simple work. First is female age greater or equal to 80 years. Second is gestational age greater or equal to 37 weeks and less than 42 weeks. Third is singleton pregnancy. Fourth is vaginal delivery. Fifth is estimated neonatal birth weight between 2,500 Z and 400 Z by obstetric ultrasound. And the last one is provision of informed consent. There are also a number of exclusion criteria when making the simple selection. The exclusion criteria were first, women with serious pregnancy complication and or underlying medical conditions. Second is women with medical indications unsuitable for breastfeeding, such as acquired immunodeficiency, seizure, syphilis, and a history of breast surgery. Number three is women with a history of breast surgery, but no intention to breastfeeding. And fourth is newborns with malformation. Fifth is newborns requiring immediate transfer to the neonatal intensive care unit after birth newborn babies. In addition, newborns were not included in the data analysis if their actual birth weight was less than 2,500 G or greater than 4,000 G. Okay, next slide, please, Chen. With regard to the experimental population for this article was 182 newborns from a tertiary maternity hospital in China between May 2020 and January 2021. There are 91 neonates in the intervention group and 91 neonates in the control group. Next slide, please. Okay, thank you. Our presentation followed by this section is research instruments employed in the study. In this paper, there are two main research instruments used. First one is PASS45 software, and another is SPSS 25.0, where PASS45 is used to calculate the sample size, and SPSS 25.0 is used for data analysis. This study used PASS45 software to calculate the sample size. The sample size was estimated based on the primary outcome of the study, i.e. the incidence of hyperthermia within 2 hours of birth in the intervention and control groups. Data analysis was performed using SPSS 25.0. Continuous states with a normal distribution were expressed as means plus or minus standard deviation, and then analyzed for significant difference between the two groups using t-test. Continuous states with skewed distributions were expressed as median and the Whitney U-test was used to analyze difference between these two groups. Percentage square test for facial exhaust test was used to compare categorical variables. A repeated measure ANOVA was used to compare change in temperature change between the two groups of the neuronitis within 2 hours of delivery. Well, that's all the presentation of our group. We are group 1. And
Okay.
thank you to your thanks for your watching and listening with great attention. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Bye.